Checking. And we're live! Yay! It's Trek Talk! It's Trek Talk! We're live on twitch.tv/Calling Up Justice. We're live on YouTube, Claudia, Alick, and Calling Up Justice. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get to it. That's enough of an intro, I think. I don't think we needed a long one. It's Trek Talk. I'm Maiamama. Right here we have Luticha, André, Doucette. We're here with another Trek rank. Content warning, trigger warning for this Trek rank. It is on death. So we are going to be talking extensively on death. It is fictional death, but it is death nonetheless. So, so we're talking about most impactful deaths, though. So it's not. So we're not talking about mass extinction events, and we're not talking about nothing. No Wolf 359. No burn. None of that type of stuff. So, as far as the criteria goes, each death is scored across 4 categories. The goal is not to rank which death is the saddest in a vacuum. It's to evaluate the death as a piece of storytelling. So, how the audience reacted, what actually changed, how complicated the moment itself was, and whether the writing earned it. So, high scores mean the death lands on every level, and low scores means it really didn't do its job. And so we have our 4 categories, and Luticha is going to explain exactly what those are. Go to it.
I'm actually, despite the topic, I'm excited about this.
Me too.
I think about this a lot in the arc of like storytelling all the time. So, and that this is also just a part of life. So, of course, our stories would reflect, some sort of real life thing when they're happening. Everyone can't be happy in space. Uh, so, the 4 categories are impact on audience. So, the core question that we're talking about here is how hard did this death hit viewers? And how much has it stuck with fans since the episode aired or since we watched that episode? Because not all of us are watching it at the same time. So the low score will be barely registered, viewers moved on before the credits rolled. Oh my God, like Bob Barker.
There's a couple in the list that I actually can kind of think of like that.
Same, same. I'm reminded of the lady who fainted on The Price is Right, and Bob Barker just kept going and the credits rolled. Anyways,
What are you gonna do?
I could do. The high score was left people reeling, still gets brought up unprompted in fandom discussion decades later, looking at you, Tasha Yar, impact to the universe. How much did this death actually change the trajectory of the story? The characters, the politics, the plot, right? The low part of that score would be nothing changes at all. The universe moves on as if nothing ever happened. Or the high score would be reshapes alliances, politics, or the fates of other characters going forward. Are you with me, y'all? Okay. We only have 4 categories, so let's get to the last 2. How complicated the death was is our next criteria. How messy, layered, or morality tangled was the death itself, not the aftermath, the actual moment. That moment. We can all think of at least one, I think. So our low score is going to be clean and simple, a straightforward end with no ambiguity. And then high score would be layered with compelling motives, sacrifice, or an impossible choice that fans still argue about. And lastly, did the writing justify the death? Because sometimes in storytelling, you be like, that don't make no sense.
Yeah,
no, I don't agree with that. All
There's
right.
a few on the board.
There's a few on the board. Did the story earn this death, or did it feel like a cheap sock, a contract dispute, or a plot convenience, right? Sometimes you just get written off the show because something's happening behind the scenes, right? Our low score feels like a cheap shock, a contract dispute, or the plot convenience with no build up, right? And the higher end is the character's arc built towards this moment. The writer's room could defend it with a straight face.
And
So those are our criteria.
so let's get to the first one. Now, our first person is Edith Keeler. Now, you remember, you all out there would probably remember Edith Keeler from the episode of Star Trek, the original series, The City on the Edge of Forever. And Edith Keeler had to die or America would be Nazis. That was essentially, she was going to convince
Yeah,
America to like not get involved in World War II, which would make America end up getting taken over by Nazis because we didn't enter the war. Which fair enough. So let's judge Edith. So impact on audience. Did this? I
I
don't
don't think
think. I thought we were both like, I don't think so. I I
we always do this, y'all. We always do this. It's just like
like no, actually. As much as she is played by a beautiful actress, and they had a whole lot of Vaseline on the screen to make us see how beautiful and innocent she was. Um they never spoke of her again. Like
right,
he literally she died, and then the last thing spoken about this entire situation is Kirk saying, "Let's get the hell out of here." And then they leave, and then that's it. And
right.
so
He discussed it. He was pretty disgusted.
I feel
So,
like
but
it's a one. Like he's
yeah,
upset because he like really liked her, but he also agrees with the choice. He did
right.
agree
He was
cuz
like,
like he struggled through it for a while, but but mostly she
because she
was
was
just,
hot.
yeah, cuz she was hot, and she was mostly just a plot device. She wasn't actually a person. She's a prop. Like
Right.
a moral puzzle of anything. So, impact on the universe. Um, it's not
Mm.
even just that nothing changes, it's that nothing is supposed to change because she's supposed to die.
Well, also is that her death, yeah, her death was supposed to happen because if it didn't, she would have irrevocably changed the timeline and you would have gone back and like do a lot of stuff.
Right,
So,
which is what ended up that's actually what ended up happening, is that like crazy bones all crazy and hopped up on drugs, jumps through the time portal, saves some lady. Oh, girl, I'm gonna save her on the street. Which, here's the thing, that doesn't seem like necessarily like an insane thing to do, but I love how they've made him wacky and
but he
on
was on
chemicals.
some stuff.
He was on some stuff because I'm like, I mean, it feels like, although it is Leonard McCoy, and Leonard McCoy,
He
I,
was probably self-experimenting with
he was
his
he
things.
had in his bag of poisons. So I think that for impact on the universe, I think it is also, I think it's only a one because it has to be a one because the universe has to move on as if it never happened.
Right,
Be,
right.
because all of that stuff didn't happen. I mean, and the death, how complicated was it? It was actually slightly more complicated than straight. I mean, she did just get hit by a truck and die. Like that was all that
Right.
happened. But like there were some things like people running and preventing
No, I think like
stuff.
getting hit by a truck is like uncomplicated, regardless of what's happening around
That's
the.
yeah, the actual thing that happened to her is again just like, just she just got hit by a truck off screen, and everyone went like this, and so we know it was bad. So then did the writing justify the death? Absolutely.
That's the only
That's
5.
the only 5. So
You got a whole 8.
8. Got a whole 8.
A whole 8.
Good job. Now,
Good job, Edith.
now
Nobody liked you.
now we have next
S-
Spock.
Spock.
Now this is Spock's death
His first
from
one.
Wrath of Khan, which is uh you are now and will forever be my friend. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's one of the like best like everyone, it hits everyone right in the feels. And then the eulogy afterwards when Kirk is all like human, it's they love each other. They loved each other. So Spock dying in Wrath of Khan, impact on the audience.
I mean,
That's a 5.
it was a
That's
tearjerker. I remember as a kid watching that and going like, "Oh my gosh,
well, the most
Spock."
important person in the Star Trek universe just dies fully.
Star
And
Trek is all about Spock. I don't care what anyone else says.
it is, yeah, like he is the most important person in the universe, and Benjamin Sisko is God.
Yeah.
And like that's how so I'd say, yeah, that's a 5 for his impact on the audience and impact on the universe. The movie immediately after that is called what? What, everyone? What's the next movie called? The Search for
Spock.
Spock. So I actually didn't even think about that until just now. I was like, yeah, like that. So like
We gotta find
that's
him.
another
Like
5. Yeah.
people were so upset. They're like, "Nah, bring him back. You cannot do this."
This is unacceptable. People
People
were heated.
eat.
Um Now, so how complicated? What do you think the death was complicated? I think it was a lot more complicated than getting hit by a truck. The
It's definitely
radiation.
well, it's complicated because of its impacts to the whole universe of Star Trek.
Well, there are competing motives. There is self-sacrifice and an impossible choice that fans
Right.
I don't well, it's not that we argue about it, it's that we hate that it was the choice, but it was the right choice.
It was always the right choice, and we knew he was going to make that choice. But at the same time, when you have an impossible choice scenario, right?
Mhm.
And you try to think like, what would I do in that situation? Because I'm not a good person.
Why didn't they just get some red shirt to go in there?
Right.
Why'd
Like
it
I was
have to be
like,
Spock?
I have to be Spock. And
Why
then
not Gary?
I like Gary though. Like it could have been like anything else, but at the same time, yeah, Spock is deeply good to his core. And that's what I love most about him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm saying, so that's another 5.
That's a 5, I
And
think.
then I think, did the writing justify the death? Absolutely. I mean, we did not. I don't. The thing is that it wasn't. I don't think it was a cheap shock or a contract dispute or plot convenience with no buildup. But it was surprising.
It was shocking.
It was shocking and surprising. I don't necessarily think it is as justifiable, the death, because I I mean it was the conclusion that they got to at the end of it. Like the reason why the warp core needed him to do that is because they wrote it that way. Um I feel like that's kind of in the middle then. I don't know. Cuz like Spock left because Leonard McCoy, or sorry, Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy wanted to walk away and then immediately regretted that decision. Um, so I don't know. What do you, I'm gonna let you choose a number. I don't know.
Um, okay. While it's not like a contract dispute or anything like that, it still falls into that vein. Like, how could these writers justify,
Mm-hmm.
you know, putting our favorite character? And it is
Yes.
because he was like, I want to do other things. And then immediately he's getting like, you know, because that happens with actors. You know, they get
Yeah.
like a good thing going on. They're like, no, I want to do other things now. And those other things don't really come. Like he had his art career,
Mm-hmm.
which is what he wanted to focus a lot more on. I've seen his books. My friend has his art books, his photography. Very interesting.
That's right. He was a
But
photographer and a
yeah,
singer.
and a singer. Nude photography, uh, a lot, which was surprising because that's not how you think of like Spock. But what
Okay.
happens when your identity, who you are and how you're recognized, gets caught up as like a character? So I think like that complicates it all
Mm-hmm.
in a little bit more way. So was it justifiable writing? I think if you're going to exit a character, that's the way to do it. Make it like this big hero moment.
Give it
So
some meaning,
yeah,
but also it never. I don't. It didn't need to happen. I mean, it needed to happen for the second movie to or for the uh, let's see,
right. Like they
third
could have
movie to
like
happen. But like,
he could have like been split. It would have been so boring if he had just been like switched to a different, you know, spaceship or something like that. It's like very
mm-hmm,
anticlimactic.
mm-hmm.
And I think viewers are less satisfied with those types of endings versus like it's done, right? And what this did was when he kind of rethinks, oh my gosh, I actually like being Spock. I actually like this. Then we have to then talk about the precedent, right, of bringing back characters to who had died
Fully
and then
died.
that fully died, right? And then how does that kind of in the space time continuum thing that we're doing, I think it set a precedent there
Mm-hmm.
that we've seen over and over again. And so I thought it was good writing, justifiable writing, because it sets that up. So I gave it like a higher score, more like a 4 or 5,
I
just
I
for those
I
long-winded reasons.
I agree. I agree because it's hard to say because like part of me is like I think it's dumb and it didn't need to happen. But if it didn't happen, then we wouldn't have three that built up to my favorite Star Trek movie of my childhood, which is Star Trek 4. Like without Spock dying, then I would not have those whales and him
Yeah,
swimming with the whales and
right.
like Gracie is pregnant and
Nuclear vessels.
nuclear. Yeah, without Spock dying, we wouldn't have nuclear vessels. So,
We wouldn't have that great ad-libbed moment in
gosh,
television and
so
movie
beautiful.
history.
So
So
that's a perfect score then, right? Are
I
we
think so. I think
all
it's a
right?
5.
So then so perfect score. Next on our list is David Marcus.
Oh,
Poor
baby.
sweet David Marcus who is the justification for Kirk hating Klingons.
Yeah.
You killed my son that I barely knew and did not have a relationship with, and who also didn't particularly like me very much. Um, I mean, they really did like try to build up something that did not work.
It didn't work.
It did not
It was
work
bad.
because like they had two movies to try to put some sort of relationship together, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. It was
Because Kirk is not dad material whatsoever.
because they didn't write him that way.
They didn't
That's
write
not
him that
his
way.
fault. They didn't write him as a dad.
No.
Like he was never a father And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh yeah, he's a father now." And it's like,
What?
I don't buy it though, but you're not giving me anything. You're like, "No, he definitely cares now that he knows." I'm like, it's like, okay. So, impact on the audience to the death of David Marcus. I almost forgot his name just now, and I just said it. Uh, I I mean, I think it's a one. I don't think it mattered, other than like again, it was a plot device similar to Edith Keeler, just another reason for Kirk to feel sad or mad about something. So, an impact on the universe, nobody cared.
Nobody cared at all. And also, like thinking about characters as plot device, right? Was this the right plot device for Kirk to have some angst or personal hatred against Klingons? Like for me, that's what stuck for me. I was like, I think there was a better way to write that about Kirk's character rather than this
Yes. Yes. I completely agree. So, impact on the universe,
one.
I'm going to say one, and it's actually kind of well, so actually no.
No, wait.
Actually no.
No,
No.
because
It is actually a
his death
very
is
high. It's like
impetus
I'm
for
going to
his
say
dad.
it's a 4
Yeah.
because this heavily affects James T. Kirk's general attitude and behavior towards Klingons for the rest of his life.
Yes.
Well, no, through the last of the main TOS movies, he gets over it by the
He gets over it.
undiscovered country. But
Yeah.
it's part of the reason why the undiscovered country even happen, like all of that stuff even happens, is because of what happens to David. So, actually, a 4?
I think it's a 4.
Yeah, it's a 4. Let's say a 4. And then how complicated? Not complicated.
Not at all.
Boom. Gone.
No
Just
one.
boom.
It's a big
Yeah.
boom.
Really kind of sad. And did the writing justify the death? I mean, yeah, I guess.
I
Like they
mean,
didn't care about him. He was supposed, I mean, like it's just like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what was supposed to happen. He wasn't written as a character that was supposed to stay for a while.
right. I guess like when you think about that's why I was saying earlier, like, is this the way that you want someone to have like a bias? But when you think about it, when someone has that personal thing that happens to them at the hands of a group of people that they see as other, and in the Star Trek universe, right, the Klingons aren't liked at all.
No, they
They're
are the other.
demonized and they are the other. And so this is how that kind of racism within the Star Trek universe is like showing itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how now, because of this one act of this one group, now we're going to hate them all, right? Like we're just going to paint them all with a negative brush. So, in that kind of way, okay, then I can see it as justifiable writing to set up a character's own kind of internal arc.
Right, right. Um, but
So I'll give it a 5.
I agree because like that's who David is supposed to be. He lived as he died quickly.
Right.
Um,
Do you think he was a Minuteman? I don't want to tell my say that. That's
but
me.
this is what now. But David died so that Chancellor Gorkon could also die, and they could blame it on Kirk because he hated Klingons. Because they recorded him
They
saying
recorded
one
him.
time saying they killed my son. And I gotta say that the Kirk I know would definitely say that, but also didn't mean it that way. Not that way. Like he's far too traveled, I think, to mean it
Yeah.
that way, but that's how it got taken. And then
Right.
he went to
Impact over
jail.
intent.
Hmm. And so this chancellor, this Klingon chancellor was killed during peace talks. And Kirk was Kirk and McCoy were sentenced to prison, and then they got out, and then they discovered that he didn't kill him, and that it was the Klingon separatists that didn't want the peace treaty to go through.
Right.
So I mean, so impact on the audience. He was barely there.
We didn't really see him for that much. Like, I had to rewatch the episode to like remember
Yeah.
who he was. There was like there had to be a rewatch. Like, who was that dude?
Who's that? Because he was barely there. So impact on the audience, I'm gonna say
A
a
one.
one, because it was just he was just there, and then someone killed him, and then that was actually, and then that was the movie. So then impact on the universe, actually larger, because he was a Klingon chancellor. He was, and he was doing peace talks, because
Peacock.
although the Federation and the Klingon Empire had stopped actively being at war during the events of like, the end of season 1 of Discovery. The active war was over, but they were not at peace with the Klingon Empire until the end of the Undiscovered Countries. So there was a really, really long time that they were sort of and like what's it called when the freeze, the cold, the
Like
what,
a ceasefire or a
ceasefire,
stalemate.
that's it. Yeah, they were under a ceasefire for a really long time, and they were often getting into little skirmishes, and trying to figure out, because it took them decades. One of the people that worked on that, Curzon Dax, because it took them decades to figure out the Kittimer Accords, to figure out how to finally like have peace accords and have Klingons be actual allies, not part of the Federation, but allies of the Federation. So I'd
Right.
say the
That's huge. It's a
impact
five.
the impact is a 5, because
Yeah.
it nearly caused the end of the peace talks. Um, and how complicated was it? Not I It was kind of complicated, because it involved like a shapeshifter and all kinds of stuff to make it seem, because since Kirk was framed for doing the murder. So like, because like, again, the murder itself, it was pretty straightforward. um
I forgot that there was a shapeshifter,
yeah.
but not like an Odo shapeshifter.
No,
Different.
no, different kinds of shapeshifters. And but like, so like the things leading up to the it was
I think whenever, sorry to interrupt,
no, go
whenever
ahead.
there's like intrigue in that way, we got to get a shapeshifter and we got to do this. We got to get the recording and we got to do, like that is a complicated death plot.
Yeah, it is complicated. I think that gives it a 5.
Yeah.
um yeah, I'm looking up exactly the way he. So his ship was disabled by photon torpedoes, and um then someone went onto the ship and fired and killed him, with and there was like uh, gravity plating, and yeah, it was actually pretty complicated. It was a pretty complicated thing. So I think that that's a 5. And I also think that the death was 100% justified, because it was sort of the point of the entire movie. Because otherwise, there wouldn't have been any story, actually, without that.
Oh,
Okay. Next, George Kirk. George Kirk from the Kelvin timeline, played by a normal looking Chris Hemsworth.
Very normal.
This is what he looks like when he looks normal. That's what I mean. I didn't
Like he's
recognize this
not a
as him.
god. He's
Yeah, he's just got normal. He's like in shape. He's still like
yeah.
got muscles. Like look
That
at
shirt
the
is very
look.
tight.
Yeah, you can see the muscles, but they're not like the size of like a person's head. And now George Kirk died saving the not no, I'm sorry, it wasn't the Enterprise. Was it the
No,
Enterprise? It was whatever ship he was on. No, the Kelvin.
the
Sorry,
Kelvin.
the Kelvin, the USS Kelvin. I don't know why I wrote he escaped on the USS Kelvin. That's why it's called the Kelvin universe. But he died on the USS Kelvin when his son was being born, and they decided on James Tiberius Kirk, and then he done blowed up the ship, which saved them and put Nero off for a little while, sort of. I mean, it was barely a set. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, well, did you really do anything, or I don't know. I don't know.
I
Uh,
mean, he was able to save his wife and child. I think that was his main goal, and as much of his crew as he could.
and he did
So
do that.
he accomplished the things that a captain is supposed to do, right? The captain has to go down with the ship and protect his people as much as possible, and
He
he
was
did that.
barely a captain, to
I
be
know,
fair.
baby
He was
captain,
well because his captain had just been murdered.
right
And
in
so
front of
yeah, and so then all of a sudden he's captain, and so then all of a sudden he has to die too. Uh
right.
Impact on the audience, it was the first 5 minutes.
It was
Uh
literally, I was in the theater in IMAX, seeing the very large pores of everybody. Um, and it was intense. Like the audience audibly gasped
I was not
at that moment.
expecting I was not expecting Captain Kirk's dad to die
No,
in the first 5 minutes. It was like, whoa, what? That did
I
not
was
happen.
re-traumatized because of Bambi. You know, all the Disney movies where like the mom is killed in some
That
like
movie. I mean,
traumatic thing.
like this specific Star Trek 2009 did not like parents.
No, it did not like parents.
So I'm going to say though that I think that the impact on the audience was probably, I'm going to say, a 3, because people still don't really know who George Kirk is, because he never shows up anywhere. This is the only time we ever see him, and that's why the only picture I have of that you can find of George Kirk is the one from the Kelvin universe, because in all through Star Trek, Kirk's dad is just this unseen pressure to excel at everything. And that's him.
Right. And he's kind of like this young guy who it's almost as if, you know, that pressure of living up to someone who's more of a myth than they were an actual person in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because of how they died, they're put on this pedestal that's so high. And now you've got kids, plural, right, who are trying to live up to this legendary status of a man.
Well,
Uh,
so
and I'm just like, yeah, I think that impact on the audience, though,
I think it's
I don't know.
I think impact on the audience is probably a 3, but impact on the universe is probably a 5, because this changes the timeline.
It does.
It makes it so that uh James Kirk he is not the high achieving nerd that like needs to be the perfect son. He is not that.
No,
It completely flips who, like, he is always kind of gonna be like a nerdy athlete to a certain degree, but like Chris Pine's Kirk became
Bad
more of
boy
an
is?
actual bad boy
Yeah,
than Kirk Prime ever was. And because he didn't have a father, a big strict father that raised him on ships and was always yelling at him.
right.
I assume that George Kirk was a yeller. I could be wrong. He could have been just quietly disappointed. But I think it's one or the other.
I think because they're from the Midwest, the dad was not a talker and was probably more of the stern, quiet disappointment or giving you those stern looks.
You say, oh, well, that's a
You
plan.
know,
Oh, is that what you were gonna do?
yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm
What?
not saying anything about that. You know,
No.
your brother. No. Sorry, that's not. But that didn't happen to Kirk. That happened to Kirk's brother
Right.
all the time. So, I would say, yeah. So,
I think
a,
it's,
a like mid on the audience, high on the universe, and then but complication of the death.
I want to give on the audience a little higher because maybe it's because I sat with a whole bunch of millennials
And
who
there was just a
through went through the period of Disney where we got this level of violence, all the time, right? And we're like, again? So
why do you keep doing this to
why do you
us?
do this to us?
And spoiler alert, just the first one in this movie. Just the
Yeah,
first one. So 4?
I think it's a 4 for
Okay.
me.
I will agree on a 4. And then Impact I think is a 5.
It's a 5.
And Complication of Death I think is also a 5. Cuz
Yeah,
the ship was damaged, and then he got all of the escape pods off, and he piloted the ship into Nero to save everyone time and all of that. One of those
yeah.
self-sacrifice impossible choices.
It was
I
a lot of things happening because he watches his captain die, and then
His wife's
there's
in labor. His wife, Emma Swan, is in labor. She plays Kirk's mom. I love it. Uh so yeah, I'd say it was pretty complicated, but and then did the writing justify the death? It did.
it did.
It did. It was absolutely, I mean, it absolutely was justifiable and very shocking all at the same time, because because that was what the situation was supposed to be. Um is that another 5?
It is another 5.
All right. Well, let's go to, oh right, we got to go to the next one. The next one, which is also from this movie, and that would be Winona Ryder's version of Amanda Grayson, who is, I don't think it's her fault that she is the least of Amanda's, and that's just because she barely spoke and barely did anything in this
Yeah,
movie
she was
except for
like
die.
there.
She fell off a cliff and died. I'm sorry, I just I don't even know if that's how she died. She didn't die from the planet blowing up, y'all. I mean, but let's start. Now this was Spock's mom. So, despite the fact that Winona Ryder, again, not her fault, the character was just, they didn't add a lot
I
to
just was
her
so
doing anything.
disappointed in that because, like, you would think like this is woman Spock's mom should be on levels of white woman. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's that white lady who had the audacity to really stand up to the entirety of Vulcan and be like, my man, my man, my man, my man, my son, my son, my son, my son.
Hmm.
I don't play about either of them.
So
She doesn't give these vibes whatsoever.
when Jane Wyatt played her in the original series, that was the first person to play Amanda Grayson. She had this, she was like, um, you saw a person who was a human who had lived almost her entire life on Vulcan,
Right.
and you saw someone with a personality and how she interacted with her, both her husband and her son, who were two very, very different people, but also two very, very, very similar people. And you got to
Right.
see her, you got to see at least a tiny bit of some complexity in that, in her portrayal. And that was only like, I don't know, 1 or 2 episodes that she showed up there. And then we saw Winona Ryder, who just did not do that at all. Even and then we saw Mia Kushner's version in Discovery. Boom. And that, like, it's really interesting how it was like they took all personality out, and so we see this Victorian wayfish thing. Like, this picture
Right.
is the perfect representation of who Amanda Grayson was in the 2009
Yeah.
Star Trek. Um which is not necessarily, we I just have to remind myself it's a different universe and it's a different timeline and it's a different it's a different Amanda Grayson. Now, impact on audience I still think is a 5, because that's Spock's mom, and Spock's mom is one of the most important people to him, and he watched his mom die and he was very upset.
Yeah. I think it
Um
was more of his reaction than us seeing this kind of nothing burger of a lady, right? 'Cause she was just eh. But because she is Spock's mom and holds that, that's where the impact is.
yeah. Um
So I'll give it a 5.
I think 5. Now, impact on the universe, yeah, it, because it affected the most important person in the universe. I mean, I
Yeah.
will say that Kelvin Spock is slightly less important, but it did affect Prime Spock, who was also there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say, uh, I'm gonna say a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because both spots were there and witnessed it. So that impact is going to be twofold now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it does, even though Spock, they tried to make the Kelvin timeline more about Kirk than it is about Spock. But Spock is like Mercutio, right? Unless you're actually killing him off, and even if you did, he's still going to have an impact on the rest of the play, right? There's no softening his character that they could ever do, no matter what timeline that they made,
If
right?
they were trying to make Spock less important, they failed, because
They failed.
they doubled him.
Right,
They made him the reason they were even there.
right.
So the complication of the death, I'm gonna give it. I think it should be a 1 or a 2, because she fell off a
I think falling
cliff.
a cliff is like a 1.
Yeah,
It's the
just,
same as being hit by a truck.
I mean, it was
Sorry.
like, no offense. Um,
No.
no offense. I didn't. I mean, I was like, when it happened though, because it was like they're all
Like, beat
standing
him.
on the rock ledge, and then under her it starts to fall, and then she
Right.
just falls before they can transport her out. I was like, like that one
Yeah. That was like a
completely,
shocker.
I
Like,
could not believe. And then they're all there and it's too late,
they're all like,
and that I will say I didn't know that they, I don't think I'd seen anything like that. It did make sense, like, you, that is sort of how transporters can work and stuff like that, but
I
like,
didn't know
oof.
transporters
But that
had
was,
that bit of a lag to them.
well, they
So
were
I was
having
like,
a
oh,
lot of, they were
they
having
were having issues.
troubles because the planet was like imploding and turning into a black hole,
That's right. That's right.
because of the red
The red star or something.
something or other. And
Um,
so like the transporter signal couldn't get through in time to grab her as she was falling. So it's like it went whoop, missed. and so she just fell. So, but she just fell off a cliff, so that's a 1. And did the writing justify the death? I mean, it felt like a cheap shock. I'm gonna say it felt like a cheap shock, even though it, like, I don't think that there was any building towards that moment. It just happened. It
Um,
just happened. But also, I think that it was necessary to, because they needed to show Spock needed a loss. He needed to experience a
but he
severe
needed to
loss to
experience it suddenly. If it had been like an illness or
yeah.
something like that, his mind would have had time to logic his way through the grief, right? Like he would have been preparing for the death.
And like he lost not just his mother but his entire planet
Yeah,
all in one go. And so
yeah,
I would say, like, as much as it felt like it was it was justifiable.
yeah.
um I think it's funny because, like, we're not judging this version of Amanda Grayson, like, we're not judging her, even though we're saying, like, she's the
Or are we
worst,
getting comments in
she's
the
the
chat?
worst of it. I'm not seeing any chat comments. Come on, y'all. I see you're there. I
Talk
want
to
to
us.
I want to hear what you got to say. Tell us.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Do what's that song is always on the radio. I'm gonna give it a 5
Yeah, I think
because
so too.
yeah, that it's this Spock as a character who has never really deeply felt grief, right? And and then you're gonna have to pair that with like the Burnham situation as well, right?
Well, that the
Because that's also in the mix.
well, and this is Zachary Quinto's um uh it- Spock. So Zachary Quinto Spock is also a little bit different than our Spock Prime.
But Spock Prime is also seeing this, and that Spock Prime is the same Spock Prime from
Yeah, and
Discovery,
his
right?
life is filled
Just
filled with grief.
trauma.
It's all grief. Everyone he's ever loved has died.
Yes,
By the time he gets to the Kelvin universe, everyone that he has ever cared about
on.
is gone. I mean, technically speaking, his sister is alive in the future, but she's gone. Like, he's
But
never
it's not,
ever going to
he's
see
never
her
gonna
again.
see her again.
No,
Like
she's
he
gone
knows,
forever, and and anyone who knows about her existence is gone.
right? He can't talk to anyone about her. And so, but to see that happen, right?
Mhm.
Because in his previous, it's not like his mom is like falling on a cliff in front of him. Do you know what I mean? Or seeing the destruction of his whole planet. That also is a layer on top of all the stuff that he's gone through. And then seeing yourself, your parallel universe self, right?
Just like
Going through
experiencing that.
something, that is another set of grief because he can't really interfere and help himself with like any,
Not for a while. Like, he doesn't get to
not
help
for
himself until, like, the end
the
of all of the
very end.
conflict, and then he can be like, give him
Come here.
give himself a hug.
Yeah.
Well, and
Well, it's really
Spock Prime is more empathetic because he's
right.
older.
Right.
He's older and has a more understanding and control of his emotional state, and is more comfortable with um not yeah, he's more comfortable control and can control his emotions better.
Right.
um so Amanda's death justifiable 5.
Fine.
All right, next we have, oh, it's Spock again. That's right,
Spock.
because Spock dies at the end of Star Trek Beyond 2016. Well, no, he dies at the beginning. Yeah, no, he dies. Well, he dies before the movie starts, because Leonard Nimoy had already passed away, and so they
Right.
decided um to let the character go, which I think is right. That was right to do. He died of old age, which I'm sure he never expected. I don't think Spock would have expected that he died of old age. He'd be
I
like,
thought
"Wow,
he's like,
really?"
wow, I lived a long time. That's surprising. Like,
I mean, technically, he died, then was reborn, and then died again.
but then
Um,
there's that weird movie that we watched.
well, no, he was dead. That was just his like that was just like they took
I'm still processing that one,
they
y'all.
had like a funeral for him, and people from all over time and space went to his funeral,
Yeah, but
like his final funeral. This guy's
that
final
weird
funeral.
movie that we
Yeah,
watched about with AI. Yeah.
unification part 3,
And then he's there, but he's not there. And he's with Kirk, but he's not.
because he's dead.
Because he's dead, but he's
But Kirk's dead too.
and but they're not.
The ghost lovers now. I don't, that's not what the movie said. But
It's
that's
not
what
what the
I
movie said.
but that's what I said.
The director, we appreciate the work that you did, but I am still processing that movie.
Like,
Um,
and that was a while ago that we saw it,
we
and I'm
did that a
still
long
also
time.
processing. So, impact on audience. No, here's the funny thing. It happened off screen. We didn't even see it. They just told us about it. And I was sad. And it did hit me because the most important person in the universe died.
Right.
Even though I knew Leonard Nimoy was dead, it wasn't the same as Spock being dead
Exactly.
because of the fictional characterness of it all. And so I think that was a 5.
Same.
Because
I
I think it
remember
was
crying seeing Spock on screen and just going like, oh, like you just felt it in that theater.
they showed a picture, like a framed picture from probably 3 or 4. Um and it just was like that. And then I kept thinking how many of those people in that photo. I don't like looking at that photo because I don't like thinking about how many actors in that photo
Are
are
gone.
gone. It's a really it's very sad. So I like um losing Leonard Nimoy was really sad, and then the confirmation that Spock was dead was just a fully 5. And
Yeah.
impact to the universe. Now here's the interesting thing. Impact to the Prime universe, he was already dead in the Prime universe. He was presumed dead, and that really did affect everyone a lot
Yeah.
because he's the one of the reasons why Vulcan became Navarre and
Right.
welcomed Romulans back to the planet. So uh
Exactly.
he's important all the way up to the far future. He is also part of the reason why the Navarre even spoke to Michael Burnham.
Right.
Um like 900 years in the future. So another 5.
Another 5,
Complication of death, unfortunately a 1. He died of old age.
which is nice for our
I
character.
think that that's great.
He didn't die on
Because
like a burning starship or had to explode himself again. Like he didn't
nope,
have to do any of that.
he wasn't like radiation burns. It was just like good night. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful actually for the character. So it is a
Right.
1, but that's not bad. Um and did the writing justify the death? Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
They I think they made the good choice rather than finding another kind of look-alike actor to do X, Y, and Z, right? It was let's let this character go. Um, and I'm fine with that. Like,
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. So they did so that Spock, that version of Spock Prime is gone. But Spock Prime has been brought back in Strange New Worlds, played by Ethan Peck. And I like him. I like his Spock. I think his Spock is similar and younger. I think that some of the
Yeah, I think
differences,
he's spot
because he's
on.
younger, is why there are some bits of differences, but and he does his own character. I like that they both have good low voices. I approve.
Yeah,
So I
I
approve
agree.
of Ethan Peck. I think Ethan Peck is better than Zachary Quinto. I don't need to fight anyone on that. I'm right.
I think
Um,
was it? I think Ethan Peck has the grittiness, darkness, whereas, right, Zachary Quinto's Spock is too innocent in a way, too like a little kid almost,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
very curious and almost kind in his approach to things, even when he's giving like the insults. I don't think he really got into that Vulcan mindset
He
pretty well.
he wasn't as sassy
Yeah,
because Vulcans are uh catty and sassy, and
yeah,
they can be bitches. Like
yeah,
um it's just it's in their it's in their hearts and souls, the bitchiness, where they're like, they're the type that will be like, "Oh, are you wearing that?" And then you're like, "Is there No, no, it's interesting." Like they're the types that will just say those type of things and then walk away. Like they're like your uh mean grandma, if y'all know what I mean. Um
it
just
is true.
like, guys, what I mean by a mean grandma. Uh
Right. Also, Zachary Quinto is too cute to play a Vulcan for some reason for me. Like,
I just think that his version was too sweet, despite the fact that I think that Ethan Peck's is also very sweet, but he's also like
he's
like
young and dumb,
but he'll
right? He's
like
young and dumb.
smash things and
Right.
destroy things. And he has weird, like, he doesn't understand emotions. He has bad relationships. Zachary Quinto's relationship with Uhura in the Star Trek movie thing, I liked it, but I liked it in a way that I was like, "Oh, I guess they're trying to let them have something," but it felt too forced and edgy, and I didn't understand. I like they're not the same age. And like seeing them in Strange New Worlds, that relationship, that I'm your senior, makes more sense. That makes a million times more sense. Um, all right, let's go to the next one. Next, we have Jack R. Crusher. Now, I had to be specific by saying Jack R. Crusher because there is another character named Jack Crusher. And I don't know if you know this, but Beverly Crusher got knocked up by Jean-Luc Picard and then had a kid that she named after her dead husband,
Yes, you did.
which is really a
Weird.
choice. That's a choice that Beverly made. That's a choice that Beverly made that for some reason, Jean-Luc is like, "Yeah, I agree. I
Right.
think
It was
that's
very
great.
strange.
I don't
The
feel
two of them are
I don't
weird.
feel strange about this at all. I mean,
Oh,
you were my best friend's wife, and then we hooked up for a while, and then you had my baby, and I think that that's great." I mean,
what
oh, actually,
if
no, he was like, "I did not know, and now I'm gonna be a great father, just like James T. Kirk." It was the same type of vibe. It was the same exact vibe, where it was like all of a sudden he's like a good dad because they said he's
your
a
dad?
dad, and I'm like,
It was weird.
I don't
I was
think
like,
so.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think so.
so.
So Jack Crusher, he died in an away mission under Jean-Luc Picard's command. Um, impact on audience, one. I mean, I would even say zero if we could, but we don't have zeros. A one because it didn't happen on screen. I mean, we do see it a couple of times. We see, but
Don't
we
we see
don't.
like
But it doesn't.
flashbacks and
But it
things?
doesn't affect us. It has no
Right.
effect on us because
The impact is on Beverly and Will.
Yes, and Jean-Luc,
Right.
because Wesley,
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 yes.
but it changes their lives uh hugely because it was Beverly's husband who she was very attached to and loved very much, and her son's father, like Wesley's dad, who he idolized and was like he's just a little guy, and Jean-Luc, that was his best friend under his command, who died for him.
Right.
And so that shaped who they were. It shaped how Jean-Luc uh it- how he reacted and behaved with Beverly and Wesley for the rest of their lives as well.
Right. Like
Because
he felt responsible, because he kind of is. For
technically he is, like,
he's
even though it's what happens, it is what happens, but he is the one who ordered. And it does affect Wesley, because Wesley, when he does that test, um and he has to let someone like go in, and they possibly like die.
Yeah.
And it was like some psychological thing where, because he realized that he was still possibly maybe a little hung up, despite the fact that he was pretty cool with Picard, and they didn't have any real issues. But he realized that maybe he was still a little pissed and a little bitter about the fact that Jean-Luc Picard is responsible for the death of his father.
Yeah.
Like, oh, huh. And like that's a really interesting thing, because like sometimes you don't realize, like, you honestly do not realize that you feel a certain way about something
Right.
until it just hits you in the head.
It
So,
hits you, and something has to trigger that, right? Like
and
you're
then it's
in some sort of scenario, and then you're like, "Oh my god, I'm having these big feelings. Where is this coming from?"
like, why are my yeah, where is this? Why is this? So I'd
Yeah.
say 5 on impact, and then complication of death. I mean, I'm gonna say it's probably higher than 1, but it also was kind of a standard away mission death.
Right. It was pretty. It's not falling on a cliff or getting hit by a truck, right? It's
It's
definitely
like a
not the
2. I'd say it was a
yeah,
2. Not anything more than that, though. It
yeah,
wasn't like,
yeah,
um and did the writing justify the death? It absolutely had to, because it was the reason why certain people were the way they were, since it happened
right.
pre-series.
You know what? I really love the instead of using women as plot device, how Star Trek uses men as plot device in these types of ways, where stereotypically you would see the mother figure going, "Ah," or whatever outside of, you know, Spock's mom. We're seeing men in these roles more
Yes,
often.
yes.
And I really appreciate that for Star Trek.
I agree. I agree. Now next, we remember her. Oh, Tasha Yar, who died from getting
Tasha!
slapped across the face by Aramis. Literally just, and then she got a mark, and then she was dead. And it's, Tasha. All right, let's start. Impact on the audience. I think
I
that
am 43 years old and I'm still saying it's BS.
oh, I mean, that's a full 5. And impact,
Fine.
now impact on the universe. Interestingly, when she died, I would like, if we were in seasons 1 and 2 and 3, I'd say 2. I'd say a 2 or a
Right.
3 as far as how the impact, but by the end of the series, it is a full 5, because because she dies, and then she comes back, and then she dies and has a kid. So uh, so so her impact and the loss of her matters, I think, more.
And that dying and coming back and changing of the timeline and all the adjustments that had to be made for her, right? And then her finally kind of being like put in timeline timeout, uh, which is like she died for me. It was like, no, she got put into the timeline timeout like Giorgio did. Um, that is huge when we're talking about the lasting impact because we can see that even
Mm-hmm.
in Discovery, the impact of Tasha Yar uh on a lot of the things that we're seeing. So
I think
yeah,
that that's a
five.
fully five, and the complication of the death is unfortunately a one,
Yeah,
because she got slapped across the face and she had a little
she got
black inky mark, sticker on her face, and just was dead. They were like, she's dead, and then they brought her up to the ship, and then they're like, nope, she's dead.
she's like this to show the she was
Yeah.
like
And I was like, but like, and y'all, that is what happened. They're like, she's dead. Then they brought her up to the ship, and then they're like, she's
she's
dead.
dead.
Because like, it's like she's dead.
Everyone could not
Commercial.
believe
Then we have this commercial break. They
that
bring
was
her
true. There
back up
was
to the ship, and then she's dead again. They're like, nope, nope. She
forgot
definitely.
how in the 90s we had to account for the commercial breaks and then you have the 10 or 20-second repeat of what just happened beforehand. So you have to like you get to experience it in double time, which kids these days don't understand the trauma of that.
Oh, yeah, when they have to, like, when they do it just like the like few seconds, so you're like, oh god, so
As if we forgot what happened during, Calgon, take us away. Uh like,
Calgon,
take me
me
away.
away. Man, I got that once and it made me itchy. Made my skin itchy. That stinks.
So the justifiable
No,
writing on this. No,
absolutely, and
no,
that's another one. It's a
the
one,
one.
because they did it because Denise Crosby was trying to get out of her contract because she didn't like what they were doing with her character. I don't disagree. I don't fully
They were
disagree with
really
that. Like after Planet Africa, and that was only episode like 3 or so. Like I understand why she wanted to jump ship after that. It's like they didn't do well with I don't think that they did that great with women on TNG. I think
they were
that
terrible with this over sexualization.
mhm.
And even though Tasha's wearing a uniform, the things that they did to her on that show, I think were just egregious.
Well, they did the same
And
stuff
the,
with Deanna.
Troy,
Yeah.
like Crusher got a little bit of that too, but I think like she gets because she's like the protege of Bones, right?
Mhm.
She has that little bit of an edge and actually being like the actual captain of the Enterprise. She
Well,
gets a little bit
technically,
more
I loved how she was like, "Y'all know that if I say he can't do this job, then he doesn't get to do this job."
right. That's why I say she's the actual captain.
And everyone's like, "Oh shit, she's right.
She's
She's
right.
right." And like, she's just like, go get your physical, or you don't get to be captain. Do you want to be captain? Do you want to be captain? Then get to sick bay. I'm not
Oh,
Leonard
you're having
McCoy.
an emotional meltdown? Guess what? I'm going to make the decisions now because you are now incapable of running this ship. So I'm going to take over
Mhm.
until you calm the heck down.
You need to calm down, sir.
Time
Uh
out.
I do love Beverly Crusher. That's yeah, that's another one. Now let's go to the next one. We have Kalar.
Um,
Kalar, Worf's wife. Now, they were only technically married for a very, very, very short period of, like, they did the bonding ceremony because it's like a private ceremony, and they were married for like, I don't know, like what, a day or something like that, and then she gets killed. I don't like it, like they were barely married. They hooked up a few years previous. She had a kid. Then he's like, "We should, you and me, be a couple." And then she was like, "No, I don't want to do that." Then she comes back again. And then she's like, "Actually, yeah, okay." And then and then they're married. And then she gets killed by Duras. Duras, the original. Um,
Because Worf needed a woman as plot device
and a son
and
as
a
plot
son
device.
in order to help him not be the Klingon from the suburbs.
No, and he was even worse. He was
And
even
he was even
worse.
worse. He doubled down. You were like, no,
Jeez,
that's supposed to happen.
so bad. So Kalar, impact on the audience. Her death was surprising. I was not
I was
expecting
shocked.
that. That was not on my because that was his, like, they had just gotten married, y'all.
Right.
Like, in my brain, like he had just gotten his kid and he had just gotten his wife, and then boom, she's gone. So like that, I would say that's
Four.
probably a 4. Yeah. I wouldn't say that it necessarily gets brought up unprompted, but it definitely left people reeling. It was definitely
It was definitely a
it
shock because, when you think of how Worf was in the 90s in this series, right? Such a stick in the mud. So depressed, you know,
so boring. Like,
so
probably
just
the most boring Klingon in the
on
universe.
the face
And
of the planet.
Klingons aren't boring. Even the
No.
ones that like chill on time planets and are monks aren't boring.
Like Jadzia, it takes Jadzia Dax to show him how to be a Klingon. Like he's got to wait
Good
for a
lord.
white woman
Like a
to show him.
like one of those white, like the white women who know how to braid, and they get a
Right,
black boyfriend and they're like, teach him how to do his hair.
right.
You know what yeah, you know what I mean. So
We
it's like
know,
what,
we know
and then you're
you.
like, oh, and like, thank you for what you've done. But also that's sad.
And
Um
it's because, and he didn't have that because he was in that, his wife would have served that for him and would have helped him be that Klingon man that she
Kalar
needed. But,
Kalar was part human. She's
right,
half human. And so she was half human. And so she understood navigating the human world. She had a
right,
different type of relationship with her race than, say, a Belana Torres. She was proud of both of her heritages and was
right.
very, very secure in it, and would have and didn't, like, there was none of that, like, does my daddy love me stuff with her.
Right. There was no confusion about identity for her, nothing. And that is what Worf truly needed. And that's why I liked her as like a pairing because she could have grounded him a little bit more, helped him with whatever stuff because he's full Klingon, but acts like, again, when you're raised by white people in the suburbs, what are you going to, and no
Yeah.
connection to your culture. This is what happens.
And she would have also helped him connect with his son, which he
Yeah.
never, ever, ever
No,
managed to do. He never
no,
managed to do that.
never.
And I think that she started out as a bridge, and then it just fizzled because she was gone and he didn't
Yeah.
keep it going. And then so then he tried to move on to Deanna Troy to try to be that person, and then that didn't work.
No.
And he tried, and honestly, Jadzia did do the job of reconnecting him with his son. She
Yep.
did do that. Um
She did do that.
so
She was great.
oh man, she was great. We'll come to her later. But impact to the universe, I think that Kalar's death is a 4
Yeah,
as
because
far
it
as the
sets
way that she
Worf's
changed.
trajectory.
Hmm.
Like it shifts everything for him.
And the complication of the death, unfortunately, she just got stabbed. I don't think it was like, it wasn't really.
Yeah, it's a one.
It was actually like kind of a bummer at how sudden and quick it was. And that's why it was. That's why we were like, "Whoa, what?"
Because she's
Um,
like, they go boom, and she's like, "Ah,
yeah, and you were like,
what?
What?"
What?
Um, like, getting stabbed, I think, is probably a 1.
Yeah, it's a one.
Um, Now, the writing was the death justifiable? Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
a
it was,
five.
and it carried through. and also it all oh I also it also reshaped the politics of Kronos, of the Klingon people, because
Right.
because Duras uh killed Kalar, which made Worf go and kill, he fully killed Duras, which caused a blood feud between with the Duras sisters
Yep.
and Worf, and I guess the entire crew of the Enterprise, because the Duras sisters were like, we'll just all of y'all.
Right. That's your clan. Like that they saw
Yeah, so she's
Enterprise
like,
as his
you, your
clan. So
ship, your
all y'all
all
gone
y'all, all y'all, all
on
y'all.
site.
Yeah. So like actually, because of her death, and then that also destabilized some of the Klingon council for a little while when they were trying to figure out who was gonna be the new chancellor. And then so that was actually a lot more complicated, like the as far as impact. I mean, I know we said 4, because I think it's a
Yeah.
5. I think it's a
I
5
think well this is a
actually.
5, yeah.
But
The
or is that the complication of the death is a 5? I'm not sure.
the complication of death was a 1 because
That was
it's
a
a
1 because it's a
stabbing,
stab, and then the
and then this
justifiableness is a
is
5,
a 5.
because like dang, because and it mattered and needed to happen. Now
Help me with my memory. Do we have Curzon coming in again to help with stabilizing everything after um or has his symbiont already been transferred to Jadzia?
he's still Curzon.
He's still
At this
Curzon,
point,
so
he would have
right.
still been Curzon. This would have been, though, like he might not have necessarily been around at this time, because this would have been at the tail end. So he might have been like retired. Like,
But they might have had him as like a consultant to ask what is going on to kind of help relationships at this point because it's still kind of like a Federation Klingon
well, and
tiff just
and
because
he
it's
is an
like,
ambassador,
yeah,
and a diplomat. So I think it's interesting actually, because Jadzia never talks about how she would have already known all about that stuff. But
right,
they never talk about it anyway. Like I bet like in universe, off screen, they probably did talk about it quite a bit, because she would have already been fully versed in what had actually happened.
right. And it gives more context of when she meets Worf, it's almost like, oh, you're Worf,
And then she's
right?
like,
Like,
"Oh, like yeah, you're cool and
yeah,
I like you." And like, well, she's not judgy, and since she actually knows what happened.
right,
I mean, he kind of when he finds out that she's friends with other Klingons, he is kind of like, "Wow, you're the coolest. You're so cool." Um all right, now next we have a really sad and important character, and that would be Ensign Sito Jaxa from the Next Generation episode, Lower Decks. And oh man, that's a good episode. That is a genuinely good episode. It's so good that they made a cartoon called Lower Decks. Now, impact on audience of Sito Jaxa dying, I cried. I cry probably every time, but the first time,
it was
because
heavy,
like she gets sent off on the mission, and then they're like, she actually died. And that's part of the job too. That's
right,
part of the job, is that they go on missions. They go on covert missions. She went undercover, um to, you know, sort out Cardassian business, and was captured and killed. Um and she was Beckett Mariner's um idol. She was all about Sito Jaxa. um, as a person who made a mistake and became a good person and kept going, like as an inspiration, as a person and a friend. And so I'd say those are probably pretty. Those first two are probably pretty high.
Yeah, I feel like, that when you make mistakes and whatnot and are able to like keep persevering, it doesn't set you back in any kind of way. I think that is such a admirable thing, to be able to be like, that's what being alive is about, is making mistakes often. At least you're not repeating the same ones every time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what she really like symbolized for me, is like, oh my God, right? And that courage, right? You're going on an away mission, doing your job, knowing that the cost could be your life, but you're going to do it anyway. Not just as an order, right? But that I signed up and I said I had the skills to do this. I said yes to everything, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
here we go all in, right? And don't no one blame me or anyone else other than the people who killed me, because I signed up for this.
Yeah.
And that's, I think it's so like, she as an ensign, right? I always think about what she could have been like had she not died. She would have made a great captain one day.
Yes, she would
Uh,
have.
I think.
And that in and of itself is like why her death is so impactful, is
Yeah.
because she, well, and because like she had become close with Worf.
Yep.
She um and she was a hard worker, and she was one of the people that was responsible for the death of another cadet. In a previous episode, there were four cadets: Wesley Crusher, Nick Lacano, and Cito Jaxa, and then some other guy who died. And that other guy who died, that was their fault. And it was, and she was put on the Enterprise, and Picard's the one who found out about that. He know he so he didn't he knows who she is, and did not like her. Like
Right.
he and like I like he already, like he's like, "Oh, I know who you are." And she proved him wrong. And like by the time she left the ship on her mission, he didn't dislike her. He thought that she like had learned her lesson and was being a better person, and it's just ugh, sad. So, yeah. I think it's two fives for the impact on audience and impact on universe, just because of the
Yeah.
um I think that if the the TV series Lower Decks hadn't happened, it would have been lower, a lower number. But because in many ways she is like one of the inspirations for that series, that it is definitely very high.
Yeah.
Complicated death,
Yeah. I mean,
pretty complicated. I mean,
it's
relatively
not like,
complicated.
because it's kind of like how we talked about before with Chancellor Gorkon, right? Where there's all of this moving parts that's happening. The way that she's on, like what she's trying to accomplish, then she's getting caught, and then now, woo.
Yeah,
So it is,
it's pretty complicated. But it's I mean, but it's not the most complicated.
it's not more, I don't think it's on the same level as a Chancellor Gorkon or
She is an
anything
ensign.
like that.
She
She's an
got
ensign.
she got most likely what happened is that she got beat up and killed, which is, I think, slightly more complicated than getting hit by a truck.
But even her getting caught in the first place is such like a rookie move, right?
I think
Uh,
it's like I'm like two or three as far as how complicated it was, because I'm like it's not easy. It's not like simple, not easy. I didn't mean easy, but
well,
it's not.
I think it's a two because we gave Jack Crusher a two. and it was very similar
It's an away
circumstances.
mission. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an away mission, and this is part of what happens when you are. And that was actually kind of the point.
yeah.
Is that this is what happens. Um, okay. And did the writing justify the death? I mean, it did, but I was really sad about that.
I still think it's a 5 because
Yeah.
yes, like there is this complete arc, right? It starts with she's made this terrible mistake that cost someone else their life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now she's got a bit of a redemption arc that's happening to be able to prove herself, but then in almost eerily similar circumstances, she's on an away mission and loses her life.
Yeah.
But loses her life as elevated heroine. I hate that word.
But
Uh,
in the defense of the Federation, for
right,
the for others, um,
right,
which is um the way that they all want it to go.
right.
That's how they. That's how a Starfleet officer. I mean, they probably all want to go die of old age. But if not that,
If not that,
they
while
either want to
doing the
go how
job,
Spock goes the first time or Spock goes the second time. Those are the two ways that are the goal.
they're like Klingons with options.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so now next. And I think we should probably, this is probably going to be the
Where
last
we
one.
stop.
And so this
Yeah.
is number 12 on our list. And that would be, I'm going to say it right, Robert and René Picard. Did I say it right? Robert and René Picard. The That's Jean-Luc Picard's brother and nephew who died in a fire at the family vineyard at the beginning of Star Trek Generations. He's messing around on the ship, then he gets a call. He goes back to his quarters, and we find out um, that his only family is dead, and it's a really big deal because it's his only family. It's the continuation of the Picard line. At this point in our timeline, Picard has no living relatives, and his nephew is gone. So there's no more Picards after him. Um, I guess he's sad about his brother dying. Sorry, they got along after the mud wrestle. I guess
That was weird.
they
Um,
wrestled in the mud, and now they feel better. That always makes me feel better when I get all upset with my siblings. I'm like, come on, and then we're gonna drink some wine, and it's all good. Um, okay, so and I did choose the pictures of Robert and Renee um from the TV series because they used different actors as the pictures in the movie and I didn't like them. So these are the ones that we knew. Also, this young child plays a young Jean-Luc Picard. You might remember his seminal line, "He's my number one dad," when he's talking about Riker. It's one of my favorite lines of Star Trek ever when he's like, "Very good, number one," and then he goes, "He's my number one dad," and God, it's just so funny. It's just so funny. It's so funny. So, impact on the audience.
I don't know.
I I didn't care. I was like, oh, I remember them.
I mean, I didn't care, but also it was the
That's sad.
90s. And we already had like the traumatic fire on Little House on the Prairie, so it didn't live up to
Well, it wasn't even on camera. It was just
like it
like,
just
hey, well, so like he's sad. Deanna comes to see him because she senses he's sad. And he's like, there's a fire at the vineyard, and my brother and Renee are dead. And And the honestly the only thing I really remember is that uh Picard called his nephew, he called his nephew, and his nephew called him uncle. And that was sweet, but that only happened in one episode because he only showed up in one episode. And so,
Right.
um,
I
so like I
mean,
just don't think the audience impact was that high. I think it's a barely register. Like it was like just a
a
plot
one.
device. It was a plot device to make Picard feel alone
Right.
and with no one, so that he and Kirk were the same, were the
And
similar.
also make him more susceptible to the Borg later on.
Yeah, they just wanted to make him like they
Yeah.
just wanted to make him sad and lonely, and so they were like,
Yeah.
well, we need to, he still has family. You're never sad and alone as long as you have family. So we got to get rid of them now. It's so sad. I mean, a lot of times that is how that's how the fiction works. So, I'd
That's a
say
one for me.
like is that so for impact is one, impact to universe also one. It I don't think no two.
It's a two because that loneliness does make him more susceptible later on.
Well, he goes into the Nexus. He wants to
Yeah.
stay there with a happy family
Yeah.
and have like children, and Renee is alive again.
Right.
And it's like it's so like
There is
there
some
is some consequence that affects him with that. So I'd say higher than a one, two, three.
three.
It's part of his motivation for the movie is him working through his grief from losing his brother, and
Yeah.
it's
I would agree.
yeah. So it matters. I will say it does not matter after that movie,
Right.
but it definitely matters as it impacts the universe during that story, which I think counts.
Right.
Um,
And then we have
how
the
complicated?
complication,
A
but
house
it's a
fire in a
fire.
vineyard. That's a one.
It's a one.
Um, and did the writing justify the death? I guess.
I guess. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, that's what we're like. I mean, like again, because it's just a well, let's see.
it's not an insensato. Like, we've been giving fives consistently, except for Tasha Yar in this. And I think it's not a five
It's
for
not.
me. But it is, I'm going to say a one.
I
But
don't.
then
So
if we're saying that the movie comes after it, it's got to be higher than a one.
I think it's a
So,
two.
true.
I
Yeah.
think it's a two, and that's just because I think Robert and Renee are they're props that were
Yeah.
used for a purpose, and that purpose was to make Picard more lonely and sad so that the movie stuff could happen, and so that he and Kirk could have like that moment of like we maybe we can find and have life. Like my assumption is that shortly after the end of Generations is when oh wait, no, it's not after Generations because then they had that other movie where Picard hooked up with that one chick.
Yeah.
Because it was after that movie when he gets together with Beverly
He goes through a few
again,
things.
again, because
Yeah.
him and Beverly, they don't talk about it. They never talk about it. But if you really think about it, they had it on again, off again for years.
Years.
They were on again,
Years.
off again. So like a lot like Deanna and Riker. Just
Yeah.
but Deanna and Riker, they were more like on again. They were on, and then they were like, "We're off, but we'll hook up occasionally because we like
Right.
each other, and we are good friends and soulmates. We are psychic soulmates." but we're not ready for each other, so we're just gonna so we might hook up every once in a while, but when we're ready, we'll get married. And then that is what they did. And Picard and Beverly have a similar but more messy type of path cuz I
Yeah.
think that they are, I don't know what they're like, friends or romantic
I think
partners
they're
again
like
by
a
the
friends
end,
with
but
benefits
they're
situation.
like a family cuz they have a son together.
Right. But they were also like a pseudo family before that because her husband was his bestie.
And
Then the
Wesley, and he
bestie,
was Wesley's surrogate father for you
right,
until Wesley went off with his
traveler friends.
time traveler new big brother. I think that the traveler was like a big brother, not like a dad. He
Yeah.
was like his big brother, like his buddy that was teaching him all about how he
They
could be
had like
cool.
a complex hippie commune
Like a
like situation.
guru type of
Yeah.
mentor. He was his
Yeah.
mentor. Um so yeah, but I think it's low. I don't think it really matters.
I think it's a two. That's what I gave it. I don't know.
It
Overall,
feels, that
seven.
feels right. That
Yeah.
that feels right. So that brings us to where we're sitting right now. So Edith Keeler got an 8. We have Spock. Spock's first death is a full 20.
Yep.
David Marcus got an 11. Chancellor Gorkon is a 16. George Kirk a 19. That actually is surprising, but is I don't disagree with any of these because we were like, no, this is what we're
We're
talking
really
about.
judgy.
Yeah. Amanda Grayson from 2009 got a 16. Spock Spock's final death got a 16 as well. Jack R. Crusher got a 13. Tasha Yar got a 12. Kalar got a 14. Sito Jaxa got a 17. And Robert and Rene, they just really wanted to French up their names, right? That's so ridiculous. But Robert and Rene got a 7. And we'll be back next week.
Next week,
Next
y'all.
week, and
We
we
got so
will.
much more to go through.
Y'all, we got a lot to go through, and maybe we'll get through the rest of the list, and maybe we won't. But what I do know is that you'll love where this is going. You're gonna have so much fun. We just keep going. And
Like,
honestly,
how twisted are we? We're like, we're gonna have so much fun talking.
fictional death is one of my favorite story narrative type things to talk about. It's like I
Same.
like um fictional deaths, and time travel, time loops are like my favorite. Those are my favorite things to like really pick apart and talk about.
Same.
Um and Star Trek has a lot of them. It has a lot of them, and it's our job, nay, our duty,
Our duty
to judge them. We
as
judge.
we have assigned ourselves a duty to be judgy McJudgersons.
Yeah.
But I think it also helps to parse fictional grief because it helps you understand when grief happens to you in real life. I think
Yeah.
it can give you a glimpse of what it is because I think a lot of history and writing, right? When we talk about grief, it's not coming from this abstract outside space. You know, we're talking about aliens and whatnot, but real people die in many of these types of scenarios. So
Mhm. Mhm. Well,
hearts go out to everyone.
and honest and as we go further into this list, there are a series of more um complicated passings. Um because we're going further into Star Trek's writing gets more complicated in some places. DS9 has more complex losses.
Yeah,
Um and the same with Discovery. Um
Discovery.
and Strange New Worlds. Like there's more. No, someone asked me what about the cartoons? Because I didn't put anyone in the from the cartoons, and then I went, oh, right, no, no one from Lower Decks died, right? That I can think of.
I don't recall.
Um, and at
And
least not one that
Prodigy.
mattered. And Prodigy, here's the thing, is that they had two character deaths that were 100% reversed. So the first one is Gwen's dad dies.
Yep.
And season 2, that's reversed. I mean, it's not reversed, but he's alive in a different timeline. And then we have Hollow Janeway. Hollow Janeway blows up the protostar with her in it. And so she's gone. But then we get a different protostar from a different timeline, and she's alive again.
Right.
And so I'm like, nope, it doesn't even count. Like they completely
Can't be
negated
doing that.
they
Yeah.
completely negated themselves within like a few episodes. So I'm not adding those. There was one other one that I did not add onto the list, although I did think about it, and that was Ensign Harry Kim.
Yeah, but he
He died and was immediately replaced with his exact
were
duplicate self.
copied.
It was an exact duplicate of himself with no variance. No variance. So, like, it's not like a Thomas Riker, Will Riker situation where you were
Yeah.
duplicated and then you lived different lives. This was like
Right.
this was like absolutely zero difference. Zero. It was like the most perfect copy of a person. So I did not include it on the list because I was like that doesn't count. Um,
I think that goes into the honorable mention of like, does it count? Because the first version of him is gone,
just blew out
but
into space. That was shocking.
it was
That was
shocking.
shocking. It shook me.
Absolutely.
And then it was like, he's fine. And I kind of felt like, oh my gosh, don't do that to me.
We copy pasted him. He's fine.
And little baby Naomi Wildman. And it's fascinating because they never talk about it again. They never even ever
No.
um
Because
uh
the series doesn't
Samantha
treat him as if he's a
Samantha
copy.
Wildman is never like this is not my baby. She is
Right.
never that. It's
Yeah.
not even mentioned that that's not technically the baby that she gave birth to.
Right.
Because it's fine, right? Because like their duplicates all died. It's technically a Harry died, a Naomi Wildman died, and all of those other people on the ship all died. So it all balances out and it's fine. Space
It's
is
a
wild.
weird, it's a weird kind of dynamic because you would have to ask, well, did the soul transfer? Like if you're a copy of somebody of
Yeah.
yourself.
How does that work? I
And I think that was too complicated to talk about, so they just
They're
didn't.
like shh.
Because we can't, because
Shh.
then would the copy be aware that it's a copy? And then what does that do?
Yeah, like how's Harry dealing with that? Is
Right. Because
Harry
are
having a
we
hard time? Does Harry sometimes wake up and wonder who he is?
right?
My answer is yes.
I think
I bet he
so.
wakes up in a cold sweat
Yeah.
for the rest of his life,
Am I
wondering
really me?
wondering if he is real. Period. Just I mean, frankly, I think of that of all of the people on Voyager, I think the person who probably like the person who made it all the way to the end and made and really got the worst out of it is Harry Kim.
Yeah.
I think Harry Kim got very little out of that 7 year voyage, except for watching a lot of people die and growing up and having a lot of weird relationships.
Like seeing your captain and your friend turn into like slug-like weird
They turned
creatures,
into salamanders and had
and then
babies.
they had babies on a whole other planet.
He's like, Captain Mom, Tom, my best friend and my mom, I mean my captain. Well,
You
he's
imagine him like waking up in the middle of the night just saying that, like,
because
no.
he was like 22 years old when
Right.
he got on that ship. And
Poor
it's like
baby.
his very first ship. His mom's like, "Hey, I forgot to pack his clarinet," and she's like, "Well, we can't come pick it up." Which I was like, that's definitely a mom thing. I imagine a mom being like, "Hey, he forgot his clarinet on Earth. And I know that you're orbiting Bajor right now, but I was just wondering if there was time for me to send it." Man, I wish we had seen more of Harry Kim's mom. I wish we
She would
knew
have been
more. I
great.
wish we had known more about Harry Kim, period. But,
Same.
so we're going to go from number 13. I'm not telling you what number 13 is, but y'all will love it
Gotta watch. Gotta watch.
once we get to number 13. We're getting to we're getting to ones that, like, probably the bulk majority of you out there, like, this is like your, cuz we're doing
Like more recent shows.
yeah, we're in the late 90s. We're in the late 90s, early aughts now with with our stuff. So it's going to be fun.
I think
Now, we're going to say I'm going to do this, and you're going to do that, and then we're going to do this, and then I'm going to say Trek Talk is a Calling of Justice production. Special thanks to executive producer Claudia, Alick. We are your hosts, Maiamama and Luticha, André, Doucette. For more information on us, check out the links in the show notes on the replay on YouTube. And share this and like this. Like us, please. Anyway, that's it.